Is your business not growing as fast as you want it to be? Are you looking for additional pillars to add to your business? Come learn from Angel out of the Bakersfield market of how she has helped and evolved her business to being much more digital first. And you can hear how she did it with YouTube and Instagram to make it a very big part of your business. So if you've been exploring options to get into video, you don't want to miss out on this episode. All right, we are delighted to have Angel out of the Bakersfield markets. Well, Angel, thank you so much for joining on this show. We would love to learn a little bit more of how long you've been in the business, like what you might be expecting this year versus last year. And then we have some great questions that we'd love to get from you.
Yeah, so I'm so grateful to be on the podcast. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me. So yeah, you can say Angel, you can say Angel Shabilsky. You can pronounce that last name if you want to give it
That's
a shot.
That's why I try to not say it because I would have butchered it.
Yeah, so generally I just say Angel P because once people learn how to say it, they're like, what? I'm like, it's okay. He's tall, dark, and handsome. It was worth the name change. So I've been in the business about 5 years. And I think your second question was, what do I see coming? How do I see it going? What do I see?
Yeah, how have things progressed just yourself as your career over the years, right? And then more importantly, like also now, like what have you been personally seeing and how are you adjusting, if any?
Yeah, so I would say when I started in 2017, video was just on the cusp of what it is now. Now it doesn't even hit your radar to not have a video. Like, you don't have a video. But back then, when I started, I actually gave, it was 2017, 2018, I gave like a little mini class to my brokerage at the time. It was a smaller brokerage, and teaching them about Instagram. And I was just teaching what I had already learned. And then I did not get into YouTube until later into 2018, kind of dabbled 2019, and then kind of hit the gas in 2020. And YouTube and Instagram are my two loves. I get most of my buyers, I would say, from YouTube because they're moving here from very expensive areas like yours in the Bay Area, and as well as Southern California. And then my sellers, Instagram's a bit more local. You know, I'm a bit more, not quite a digital mayor, but if I'm out and about, I'm showing where I'm at, and being, knowing the temperatures and knowing what's happening in town. I tend to get more of my sellers from Instagram.
Very fascinating. So those are two different things. So let's dive into a little bit about how you thought of it. How have you changed your own content, given it's been a couple of years since you've been doing each of them respectively?
Yeah.
So maybe let's talk about breakdown. I think it's always also insightful for people to know if you were to try to break it down of, let's say, either last year or so far this year, what percent would you say would be from YouTube, whether it's buyer or sellers? Like any guess of what you think that is for your own business?
Yeah, so I would say the more you're on YouTube, the more business you're going to do on it, obviously. So the first year, I think I had 3 transactions. And I consider my first official year on YouTube was when I decided to actually make a YouTube video for YouTube, not just throw up my Facebook Live and be like, okay, here we go. Like, I actually learned the platform, figured it out, and was like, oh, it's totally different. How about that? So from 2020 to 2021 to now 2022, it was, each year it grows. But this year, I would say 75% of my incoming business has been from YouTube.
That is absolutely amazing. Right?
Yeah.
And then how about the Instagram side of things? Because Instagram is, I haven't really personally been able to really master it or get too much out of it.
What?
Yeah, so I'd love to.
Aren't you the tech guy? What do you mean you haven't mastered Instagram?
It's we have different games. There's different strategies. So on Instagram side, like, what did you do any content different? Like, were you like, okay, these posts relate more? Is a lot of your content more geared towards sellers too then? Like, are you more cautious of that? Like, walk me through like your thought process there.
Sure. Well, Instagram, because I was like you back in the back 2017, 18, I just needed to be consistent. I was like, I got to do something. So I kind of just polled my 300 or 400 people at the time. And I was like, hey, what if I do like a Tip Tuesday on like real estate? Because our industry as a whole, I would say, has the most interest, but we have like a really bad reputation. We're like right behind used car salesmen. People don't trust us. They think we're shady. And so I just really wanted to change the narrative of like, we're not shady. We know a lot. Like there's a lot about just doing the transaction alone. So I started with this thing called Tip Tuesday, and now I just do it. Now it's one of my highest days for my insights, for my activity, for my conversations and DMs, and that people rely and count on my Tip Tuesday, whether I'm going to be there or not, whether I have a sick kid or not. I do my best to get on that thing on Tuesday, and even if I ghost the rest of the week. But mainly, it started for me to have something to like consistently show up, and then and it was to do that, to educate, always to educate. I started kind of tapping into some of the other areas of my life. My faith. I was a big Dave Ramsey nerd for a very long time, taught the classes at my church. So I was also generating leads from that sphere that I didn't even realize I was doing. And so my perspective on the real estate transactions and how I walk people through them kind of goes in line with some of the things that I learned through the Dave Ramsey life that I live, right? So that would be the long answer to your question. Is that's how Instagram started, was I needed something to be consistent with.
Right. Interesting. Now, are these reels that you've been doing, or are they like photos, like, or do you mix and match when it comes to the tips? Like what changed with that? Because I know reels are pushed a lot more.
Oh, reels are pushed a lot more because it's 2021, right? And Instagram changes about every other week. So back then I didn't have, we just had stories, and they were, very 15 seconds. And then you had to like redo everything and put in all your hashtags and hide them. It was a thing. And then it was, okay, now stories are, now you can move stories down into your feed. Oh, okay. So learn how to do that. Now I've got them both places on a Tuesday. And then now it's throw up a reel. Now I don't even think you can do a regular post on Instagram. You have to make it a video. Like they don't even mess. They want you in a reel. They want you in a video of some fashion.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it changes as the platform changes. I just try and stay, on top of it, and make sure that what I'm putting out has people, stopping the scroll. That's the whole thing, is eyeballs on your content.
Interesting. And then when it comes to that too, do you have it, given you're doing video content, do you have any mindset of how long these should be? Are you trying to also stay for up to 40 seconds? Like, is there any kind of criteria there from your own thought process?
That's a very great question, because we could talk about real estate all day, right? Like we can just flap and flap and flap, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, I try and keep it to a minute and a half.
Okay.
So that would be, whatever the 15-second chunks that you get, or the minute that you get, now that they've extended that in some. I used to have it where I could go for a minute and then they took it away. So the more updates you do, the weirder it gets. I don't know, but yeah, I try and keep it pretty brief. And it's usually something transactional. I had one that really took off a couple of weeks ago. I had buyers that cancel because they found out that there was a death at the property, and they wanted nothing to do with that. And I thought, I wonder if other people know how that works. And I had a friend, I have other realtor friends that follow me on Instagram, and they were like, that doesn't even have to be disclosed in our state. News to me. Yeah, California, we have to reveal it, right?
Yeah.
So that one has a ton of traction. So of course I tightened it up a little bit. I moved it over to, it's now a YouTube short. I moved it over to Facebook, repurpose, you gotta repurpose.
Yeah, exactly. You might as well. I mean, you're spending all this time shooting it. It makes no sense if you're just doing like one for each all the time. And so that walks me through, like, I love to understand your flow of the content creation of your calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Like walk the audience through, and walk me through too, of do you try to batch shoot like 4 at a time? Do you even think about batch shooting? How much is of the planning of, okay, what am I even talking about this week? Walk me through like that.
Oh, batching. Okay, that is like the constant, hashtag goals, right? Like I want to be one of those, oh yeah, I got 5 videos done in a day. Yeah. I flub and flutter and restate. Even if I have my notes, I'm still like, what am I trying to say? I cannot get it out sometimes. So if I can get 2 out that are just a talking head video, to me, that's a win. Because then I can like catch my breath and do some research on something that might be out and about, right? If I have to go research a neighborhood, or I'm getting ready to do the fair, it's coming up and starts this week. So I want to be there. I want to kind of get some of my, not man in the street, but yeah, I want to do some research on what I need to do there. So that one's going to take a little longer. So I tried to bust out some of the, face to camera videos earlier so that my editors can kind of be working on those while I'm doing the other one that I know is going to have a lot more footage. So I don't know that I have a strategy as far as like batching, but I kind of know like, okay, what am I doing over the next handful of weeks? And then I post every week on YouTube. I would love to say that I'm there every Wednesday, like my banner says,
No.
but it's sometime between Wednesday and Friday. That's usually when it gets done. But I really push for Wednesday, even if I'm like, holding up my eyelids, trying to get that thing up. But sometimes I'm like, Thursday is fine. I'll put it up on Thursday.
Interesting. Okay, got it. Okay. And so if that's the case, is that for both your Instagram strategy and YouTube? So you're really maybe 1 or 2 weeks out if you're lucky in terms of like how much you may have done. Is that fair to say? And do you feel it's beneficial, or is this, it doesn't, given the capacity, it's actually very difficult to get 4 weeks ahead?
Well, I think it also depends on what the video is. I just did one that was about the loan limits for VA. So that one I wanted to get out because I have a lot of VA activity on my page and whatnot. So I wanted to get that one out. So it's kind of timely. The market updates, those have to be really engaging, first of all, because it's just a bunch of numbers.
Right.
And you have to have the right kind of audience that wants that. But then that's a lot of data, and it has to be to the date. Like if they're watching it, they want to know, oh, this was from 2 weeks ago, like, whatever, oh, everything's changed. So it just depends on what it is. But I do try to stay within a nice 2 to 3 week window. Yeah, it's easier to manage.
Got it. But do you also have content buckets that you try to be with? Like, do you have thoughts of that? And is there anything you want to add, like bucket wise, of what you're already mixing, or is it what you're doing perfectly fine? Just keep the flywheel going. Like, what's the
Yeah, no, great questions. Boy, you're just like on the spot here. So I the all around town stuff people love. I mean, they want to know what it's like to live here in Bakersfield. So the more I can show around town, the better. That takes a lot more work, right? So that is one bucket. The digital mayor, neighborhood tours, zip codes, what this house, what you can get for 500,000 here. That is always a really top viewed type of video. The other content would be more real estate related, like, kind of with my Dave Ramsey money mindset spin. And then the third one is just kind of a little bit of, it's all geared toward buyers. So I do have seller videos on there. Side note there, I do have like how to sell your house fast and how to stage and blah, 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 but it doesn't get near the view activity that the buying. And the other bucket is the Leaving California group. I have interviews with other agents that are on YouTube. I try to get them on YouTube when they're leaving California and they're going to another state. So I've talked to I've talked to Florida, Texas. I'm getting ready to talk to the Carolinas. I've got one queued up for Montana. I did Missoula, Montana, and I'm getting ready to do Bozeman. So just trying to like, okay, where are you going here? Let me help you sell here in California, and then you can buy over there.
That's interesting. Where would you say, because I know Bakersfield will get, as you brought up, people from either the Bay or Southern California. Where have you seen, just out of my own curiosity, where are people choosing to leave to? Is there a specific place that it's the most common, or is it like really fragmented?
From California, you mean?
From Bakersfield. From
where are they leaving? Well, it depends on which governor is in the news. For a while there was a crap ton of people going to South Dakota because Kristi Noem was just all over the place, and a lot of people were moving to South Dakota. Florida is always a big contender because we're so weather conscious here. We Californians, we don't like bugs and we don't like bad weather. we got our pissy pants on around here in California. So we have to be very specific. But so Florida is a big contender because it's the most comparable. But I do have a lot of buyers that are still moving, excuse me, sellers that are still moving to Texas and Tennessee. Those are my top two. Texas and Tennessee. How about you?
Oh, interesting. For us, actually, it's Texas and Florida are, it depends on also like where they're at with their careers and their lives, to be fair.
Yes.
I would say if they're very still like, given the Bay Area is still heavy in tech and there's so many careers and opportunities, there's a portion certainly very big of Bay Area to Seattle, which is also not a very similar price point. Bay Area to New York, similar situation, and Bay Area, let's say to SoCal. LA and San Diego have done extremely well with that move. So that's kind of one one portion of the population.
Right.
And those that are more like almost like retiring or just wanting to cash out, then those would tend to be Texas or Florida is where it's most common.
Yeah, I have some. I just had another one that just popped up on my radar that I was like, nobody's talked about that today. I had these two sellers. I have a seller. We just closed on their house last month, and they're bugging out, and they're buying land in Kentucky, where they're looking right outside of Lexington, I believe. Mm-hmm. They are still in a multiple offer, flies on a candy bar situation, like it's 2021 back there. I'm like, really? They're like, oh, we lost out on that one. 5 other offers. I'm like, what? Yeah. In Kentucky? Okay, now I gotta find out what's going on in Kentucky.
Yeah, no kidding. It's really interesting, like these micro situations.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why when you hear the overall news, that's one side of the story, and then you got to figure out and understand like what is happening locally in that market to just make the best decision that you can.
I've got sellers that have moved from, they lived in the city. Worked for the mayor, Mrs. What is her, London is her name? London Breed, what her name? Worked for her, and they were renting, and they were like, they had family here, and they were like, okay, we can buy a house for what we're paying in rent. So they moved here. I've got other people that have found me on YouTube that are moving their houses on the market in Concord right now. And then a lot of the same thing from Southern California, where they're like, okay, we're paying in rent what we can buy, and they don't want to leave the state, right? They want to stay here still. They don't want to leave and go start somewhere new. They're not in the pilgrimage mindset like that. Staying in California, even though Bakersfield's it's like, what, okay, gonna go there, but you're still in California. And I think that gives people a little bit of like, okay, I don't have to start all over,
No, exactly. There is some comforts of it, right? Like, and that's the interesting part, because most places, and maybe Bakersfield rent is the same, like rent has continued to gone up. And so if they have the ability of saying, okay, well, I don't want / I can't, or I just don't need to buy in one area, they may say, all right, let's look at what are the markets with anything even cheaper or close to our rent that we can just buy. And then they figure it out themselves of what
100%, 100%. And especially now that the buying power has kind of shifted. Right. I don't like to say, dropping and the sky is falling. I'm just like, you know what it is? People are going to buy and sell real estate all the time. Like, right. That's just the way it is. They're going to buy and they're going to sell no matter what the rate is. So like, just adjust it. It doesn't have, this is the conversation. This is the video that's like, I've got to make this video because it's coming out my mouth every other day is It doesn't have to be your forever home. Just get in the market, right? Because once you're in the market, then you've got more mobility to just being a renter. Just get in the market. It doesn't have to be every bell and every whistle on your dream sheet. You know what I mean? Just buy a house and then, and then let things settle down. Your neighbors don't care what you paid for the house. I mean, they do when they see it show up on Zillow, but it's not going to be like the conversation that you're having when you're taking your trash cans out. They want to just know who you are. I mean, that's kind of where I lean toward is like, just forget it. Don't spend a lot of time on the rate. If you have to lower your price point, okay, let's just do it. Just get in.
Right. No, it's good advice. And people have this during this time, the challenge a lot of people is there's so much news that makes things, quite frankly, even for everybody, very confusing. But the reality is these are all certainly very short-term effects. And the question is, what are their goals and plans over at least a couple of years.
Right.
If it's to be in one area or to settle down, then what has changed to prevent that from still happening?
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
And then that's the thing. Now, if they're really unsure where they want to live, then that's a different matter, right? Then rent for a year, move to somewhere else. But
100%. And our renter, I can't even say it. Words are so easy. Our rental market
Right.
is just as hot as the buy sell market. I had a client bought an investment property at the end of last year, and it was a 3-2 in a gated, very nice part of town and whatnot. And he was thinking, I could probably rent it for 22, paid cash for it. So it was gravy for him at that point. And he ended up getting that thing rented for 27.50. And he's
Wow.
like, what's it? What? Just because it was like all eyes were on that house. Like, what? Of course, it was gated. It was in a nice part of town. It was in a very, up and coming, yuppie kind of, well, I don't want to say yuppie, but it was just very,
Yeah, it's a good area.
very shishi la la, very nice place to call home. Yeah.
Nice.
And so he got it rented in like less than 8 hours, I think, on wherever he posted it. I was like,
Wow.
okay, let me know when you want to do that again.
No, that's amazing. Congrats to them. I mean, that's the thing, right? And that's a part of being the homeowner is you now have that opportunity to rent it out for quite a bit. And I'm sure they probably lived in it for some time, and so their cost basis is fairly low. And that's just what it is.
Yep. It
Well,
was-
very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all
Yeah.
your insights of the growth. I mean, a lot of people, especially in this market, and transaction volume is down by a lot. So people are kind of figuring out, are there additional pillars that they're not using, or what can they be doing with their business to be able to get more? And certainly video content, getting yourself out there, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on YouTube, or there's just so many opportunities to be able to educate people. And it not only helps yourself be that local brand in that market, but also potentially get clients and great really friends too that come out of it. So that's awesome.
Yes.
What would be the best ways for people to connect with you? Is on Instagram? Do you prefer text? And what would be the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, absolutely. You can always reach out to me on Instagram. I'm Bakersfield Realtor on all platforms except for Facebook. Facebook, I'm Bakersfield Realtor for you. Like the number 4. I don't know. Bakersfield Realtor was taken. Can't imagine why. So I'm Bakersfield Realtor for you, but Instagram and YouTube and all my information, I can provide it to you. You can find me, shoot me a DM, all the things. I am on TikTok, but I don't do TikTok. I have a VA do TikTok because I just don't want to learn another platform. It makes me feel old to say that, so I don't like to say it out loud, but I'm really good with the 2 that I'm at. Like I gotta, but yeah, I'm everywhere, doing all the things and, video. I mean, the thing about video that I think is, if I could give you a takeaway, whether it's on Instagram, because now Reels live forever too, and YouTube especially, is long form on YouTube lives forever. You
Right.
make that video once and it's seen and seen and seen and seen.
Yeah,
So that's the beauty.
that's the absolute power of it, and it's searchable, right? And so there's obviously an individual has to figure out what's the right balance for them and what they want to do. But for YouTube content, it is searchable. It lasts pretty much forever, and you just never know who may end up watching it and then reaching out because of it, right?
Ta-da! Case in point.
Well, very good. And so thank you so much for
You bet.
your time, and thank you so much for sharing with the audience.
You bet.
You've been able to continue to grow your business and grow your brand, and I think a lot of other people can take note of that. So we'll have her details in the contact detail or in the description below, so that you guys can connect. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a good day.